All right, welcome. It is officially live from the area code of the 713. Appreciate everyone who is actually on here live and everyone who will be reviewing this at a later point where I'll be breaking down a 80 unit case study. So trust you had a fantastic week. Every time I talk, I feel I don't know what it is. I'm not sick or anything, but I need some honey, some tea, or whatever it is. So yes, it's been a beautiful week for myself. Quite a bit of boxing in. Got a really this one little technique that really helped with my form because formerly I was like this when I would be in my stance, but like this, and it really helps my one as well as my two when I turn. It makes it so much easier. So let me know that I am also coming in clear. Go ahead and put in the chat that you can hear me. I'm sure that is the case. And as mentioned, we will be going into a 80 unit case study breakdown. And I'm here in Houston, Texas, originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. So for those of you who are on here, go ahead and comment below where you are from. So today we're going to be going pretty in depth on this deal. Don't want to go too into the nuts and bolts because there's definitely quite a bit of rabbit holes that you can go down. And I'm going to look to condense a deal that took close to about 10 months from start to finish to actually close in about an hour, hour and a half to 2 hours. So really depends on some of the questions that may come up during the chat. So bear with me on that. And as mentioned, appreciate you all so much. And we will go ahead and jump into today's topic. But if you're just now coming across me, I'll go ahead and give you a quick Spark Note version on myself. Born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, not so good parts of the city where you never knew if you were actually going to make it the following day because there was a ton of illegal activity that was going on around. 5 years old, almost lost my life due to a stray bullet. But luckily, mother moved both my brother and I from the inner city to more of the suburbs. We're still in lower income housing, but a completely different crowd that were around us. And then ended up getting started in real estate. This was in 2009 on the construction side. And then I ended up figuring out that those who got wealthy did not get, did not get that way by being laborers. So from there, as I started buying single families, where I bought my very first deal, no money out of pocket, and had to overcome a lot of limiting beliefs, such as I thought I had to have 95 or 100% of all the information to actually go out there and do deals. Also, a limiting belief is I thought you had to be a certain age, like older, to be into real estate. That's not the case either. And then also that you had to have a large amount of cash. That is not the case either. So all of these limiting beliefs that I ended up overcoming and then scaled to 150 single families and then bought my very first deal, which was a 46, the scaled to 150 single families, and then 2017 bought my very first multifamily deal, which was a 46 unit apartment complex. So that's just a little context on myself. Ended up scaling to just under 500 units. Have since sold several apartments since that point in time. But there's context. And as we're going through this, don't hesitate to ask any questions. We're here to make this conversational, and I want to provide some edutainment. So don't want to make this very mundane because this could be a mundane topic, and I'll look to add some jokes in because I just like adding jokes and I enjoy doing these streams for you guys. So let's go ahead and drop right into it where I'm getting these notifications that come in. But so just starting out, so this is a 80 unit that is in Louisville, Kentucky. I like to pronounce it Louisville, Kentucky. So let's go ahead and give you just an overview on the property itself. Well, let me go ahead and take a step. No, let me take a step back. So this was in Indianapolis, Indiana. Many of you know I take the direct to owner approach. So from there was targeting apartments between 75 to 160 units. So went very deep in the Indianapolis market, and from there decided that okay, now start to expand to other markets because the more contacts that you make is the more likelihood that's able to convert to a actual contract. So contacts equals, and most of you know the end of that. And shout out to Grant Cardone. That's who I got it from. is that the likelihood, the more context that you have is the more likelihood to lead to a contract. So started looking at other markets that were very comparable to Indianapolis. So was looking at Cincinnati, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Kansas City, Missouri, Bloomington, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky, as well as Lexington, Kentucky. So from there is settled on the market of Louisville, Kentucky, and just looking at the general stats that you want to have in the market, and such as population growth. Is it diverse on the corporations that are headquartered there? So you just don't want to be heavily manufacturing, or let's say it's just healthcare. Is it very diverse? Companies that are headquartered there, in case one industry decides to go down, you still have other employers that are around. And then also one thing that really stuck out was the price. So the per door you would be invested into a property, meaning that in correlation to the rent. So I'll give you a prime example is that all in, I my where I tend to be into a property is about anywhere about 5,000 to about 50,000, and that's on the per unit. And the expected rent on that is about 750 to $800. So that is that range. And Louisville also checked those boxes too. Because I'll give you a prime example. I was speaking to another investor, and they were purchasing a property in Denver, Colorado, where the average rent was $900. However, they're about 160 to $170,000 was just their purchase price. That didn't include what they were putting into that. So that's what I mean is that Louisville made the most sense when it came to that ratio. And I'll show you how to look at the stats when you're looking at a market when it comes to the population side of things. So when you're looking at Louisville, Kentucky, and this is what you'll get in the Midwestern states, is it's not like you would get in California, for instance, where and I'll type in California after this, or Los Angeles, where it's very slow and steady. It's nothing too crazy. So you can see has been very steady since 2011, where it was just the metro, the city is about 592,000, and then it just gradually just moves up. So there's been a population growth. So that's good from the state. I enjoy slow and steady growth, nothing too crazy as those swings. And then let's say you look at Detroit, Michigan. So looking at here, you can see the population of it's just steadily since 2011, where it was at 738,000, and it's just been on a decline. So this would not be a market that's of interest. And you can see it's sort of leveling out of over the years, but that's how it's been. So this would not be a market personally of interest. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like for Los Angeles, for instance. It's probably been going down well over the years, but yeah, I mean, so this has been gradually going up. So yeah, I was wrong on that. But let's look at Columbus, Ohio, which has been on fire. This Ohio, and I butchered that word there. My spelling is just not the best because I use a lot of spell checks. So as you can see here, Columbus it's more of it's really shooting up of the growth, where in 2011, where that was at just close to about 780,000, and look, it's increased about 100,000. And this is the city. I know it's rapidly been growing over since 2020, and then now to this day. So those are the key metrics, and this is just one simple Google search that you can use as a way to determine, okay, this is the this has been the population growth. And from there is you would actually go into the next steps. So let's go ahead and go into, this is an overview of the property. And then also was taking the time to analyze the market. And what that means by analyzing the market is understanding that, okay, is this a business friendly where you're going to be doing business and buying property? Is it landlord friendly, or is it tenant friendly? Prime example is in Chicago, it's very tenant friendly to where it can be close to about 6 months for you to evict for you to evict the tenant. Versus in Indianapolis, for instance, is it's about a 30-day turnaround time. So that's a significant change in a swing. And just think, if you have a mortgage on your property and 6 months of not receiving income, is that your lender is not going to be, oh, okay, well, I understand that the tenant is not paying rent for the past 5 6 months. They're going to say, well, you still need that mortgage payment is still due. So that's the thing, is that each market has something different. And the great way to get further insights on any given market is just to network with other investors that are in that market. As simple as that. One site that you can use for this is biggerpockets.com. One, I'm not affiliated, so by you going up to sign up for a free account, I don't get a kickback or anything. So it's a free platform that you can use, and you can network with people in that particular market who are already doing deals and get their insights and feedback along with your own research that you've done, and you're just simply confirming and verifying it. So as a prime example is, I was looking for working class neighborhoods, so solid C neighborhoods that were very comparable to the C neighborhoods in Indianapolis. So I did the research, and I was looking at, okay, these are the neighborhoods that I believe fit the bill in Louisville. And then from there, that's when I started to network with other. Let me make sure my mic is on. Right, testing. Mic check 1 2 check. All right, testing. I believe it's actually good. Test. Okay, we're perfect. And that's when I went to investors and said, "Hey, these are the neighborhoods that I'm looking at. Would enjoy getting your feedback on. I mean, what is this, very street by street? Is this block by block? Is this working class that's actually here, or is it actually a D neighborhood? And I may be mistaken in thinking it's actually a C class." So those are the things versus, and this is the more laser approach I see most people do take, is though. And I've had someone ask me, is that they wanted me to actually do their research for them, that where they don't do the research, they just go to me and just ask very general questions. And now you're asking someone to take the more time out of their busy schedule to then answer questions for you, versus if you do the research beforehand and you're very specific in your questions, that helps so much more. And the better the questions that you ask, the better responses now that you're able to get. So go ahead and comment below with where you are investing in. Would enjoy hearing from you all on that. So yeah, those are bigger pockets, networking with people, and then also local property management companies. This is huge, especially if you are expanding to that market, and that's exactly what was done on this deal. Started networking with property management companies as a way to get their insight, because they manage those similar assets that we were going for. Interviewed several of them, and then ended up moving forward with one that was recommended by others that said they were hit or miss. And that was pretty much the insights got from other property management companies. So yeah, it's all about just going out there, networking, finding people on bigger pockets who are already in the market that you wish to invest in and be able to get their feedback. And then secondly, is networking with property management companies in that market to get their feedback as well, because they would also likely even be on your team. So there is that. And now let's go ahead and talk about the next steps on how this deal was actually found. And I'm just going to go ahead and just pull this up for you. So I like to go through the actual steps of how it was, and just going to go ahead and read a couple chats here. So we've got Black Tiger that says, yo, Charles here that says, good day, Sterling. Yes, appreciate you so much, and thanks for being on here. So now I gave an overview on the market. Now we're going to touch on how the deal was found. So this is, I'll go ahead and just pull it up here. I don't want to go all into presentation mode for you guys. So we'll be switching in and out of this mode. So finding the deal, and it works from lead source, your outreach, which in this case was an actual cold call, The next was setting the appointment, and then following that was the submitting of the actual offer. So starting with the lead source, there's different ways how you can go about this, but on this particular one is use the platform list source, a mix of CoStar as well as Google, and then apartments.com is a way to pull leads. And at that time is wasn't as efficient with pulling leads, so that's why we were using a multitude of different ones. But now it's down to a T where we just use only one platform. And so with that, pulled the list and looking for properties that were distressed and mismanaged. That was the path that was taken. And so ended up pulling the list and then had a list of all these properties that ended up filtering it down. So wanted ones that were not acquired within the most recent 3 to 5 years. And then also when you would go to Google, for instance, you would see that the reviews weren't the best. Looking at the property, you would see it wouldn't be in the best condition. Parking lot looked like an alligator's back, for instance. There may be a tarp on the roof. So all these indicators that the owner may not be taking care of the property. So from there is started calling the owners of these properties. And how this call goes is, and if you would like a link to the script, go ahead and put below, and I will go ahead and drop that at a later point for you. But let me go ahead and go back to the comments. Okay, is that how the script goes? It's very simple, and I wouldn't complicate this side of things. Is you're just simply, hey, Bill. I see that you own XYZ property. Just want to personally reach out to see if you consider an offer on the property there. So very simple, straight to the point. No NLP, no trying to do any deceiving. It's very straight to the point. Many of the times they'll throw out not interested. Hey, Bill, I understand. I'm sure you get these types of calls all the time. Tell you what, give me 20 seconds. If you don't like what you hear, I'll hang up on myself. Sound fair? So that's a little bit how the script will go. So the initial phone call with this person is it was, and again, I called multiple properties. So I'm just referring to this one. So I do want to allude that this wasn't the very first time that I actually called this person. It was boom, they were ready to go. It was actually multiple properties that called. And then this was one of the ones that ended up making sense and ended up pulling it from there. But the thing I want to mention too is it took 7 attempts just to get in contact with the person. So one, I see many people, they don't even do the outreach, whether it's the direct mail, whether it's the call, whether it's the text. And the other mistake I see people make is they give up too soon. I'll give you a prime example is there was one person that I was having a conversation with, and he said, hey, sir, I just want to pick your brain on why this campaign isn't working. And I said, how many times have you hit the list? So basically, how many times have you sent out the campaign? You guys, he said 1 time. I can't make this up. So that just goes to show you is that it comes down to just consistency and follow up. And that is the key. So have the conversation with Bill Sing Jr., and he was the son who actually he got thrown into the fire to manage the property. One great guy, but he didn't have any business experience, let alone property management experience. And I just heard from that initial conversation that he wanted nothing really to do with the property. And however, his dad was fine with the property because and how it was performing because it was about 60% occupied because it was owned free and clear, so he was still earning a good amount of money. So through this is I just continually kept following up because I heard the motivation levels, the motivation out of the son. And so the next step was to now actually set the appointment. And the setting of the appointment was this is what I like to leverage is that yes, you could do the phone calls as a way, but the best way that I found to actually build rapport with another human being is to actually be face to face with them. So one hack that I would use is I would say, hey, Bill, and it would be Monday. And I kept constantly following up and using creative ways to follow up because if I just kept following up, every week and saying, hey, Bill, now you're interested in selling your property. 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 You guys, just me hearing that are probably getting a little annoyed. So just imagine the person on the other end. So I would use creative ways to follow up. And so just one is I would say, hey, Bill, I'm actually going to be in town this upcoming Thursday. Would enjoy putting my hand in your hand, or I'm actually going to grab some coffee. I could just swing by and deliver some to you as well. And so he ended up accepting it and said, yeah, you can go ahead and come on by. So from then, I'm making a trip to Louisville this upcoming Thursday. And so then the next steps that I would take is, just in case this person does not actually, let's say something comes up, I actually line up other properties. That way I'm not stuck with my tail between my legs. And then it's like, okay, I just made this 2-hour drive to Louisville and now nothing's there. So I would actually line up other owners that I was actually prospecting with the same time. And I'll give you an example, is that one of the owners, and this was a property that was actually just right across the street. So here is the property. This was at the time it was called Bentwood Apartments, and we actually renamed it to Dunwoody Court. Have actually sold this property, but let me see. You can actually see what it looked like before. So yes, you can see it's got Bentwood Apartments just right up there, and then you can see the changes that happened to the property, and such as the removing Bentwood Apartments was the first thing, and then actually putting updated signage. But one thing I would also do is, there was this other property that was just right across the street, and I would constantly, when I would go visit Bill here at Bentwood Apartments, I would then go right across the street and then go visit this guy who owned this property here. So that was my follow-up process. And then there were other owners that were nearby. And I would always drop in on Patrick. Well, I gave his name away. It's all good. He sold the property. But yeah, I would drop in owners completely cold, some that may have just hung up on me a couple days prior to. Like, I know you just I didn't mention, I know you just hung up on me. But I know that takes some big cojones to do that. But this comes down to is, what is your big why? And if you have a big enough why, is that you'll be able to go through things such as that. So that's how it worked. Is that it all started with pulling lists. Next step was doing the outreach to find people who were actually, there was some type of motivation. And then after that, ended up finding someone who had a motivation, set the appointment to then go out and view the property, which I remember walking through several of the units here. And he mentioned that they had been down, and these were significantly down units for a couple years. And that was another ring, light bulb going off, that, okay, there is a motivation here. So that's why I was aggressively following up with this particular owner in that case. And then what came up here, ended up submitting an offer on the property. So the submission, and this comes down to, you got your initial assumptions on your underwriting. So on this is why it's good to have a team. Team is vitally important, because we were able to rely on our property manager to get insights that helped us on the underwriting side. So they had already been at the property before, understood, had an idea of just of the types of the renovations that needed to be done. So we were able to take that, and then also the renovations that needed to be done, and then also what we would be able to push the rents up to, and then basically build out, okay, this is what we can offer based upon that information. And then based upon that information is ended up submitting an offer. And this was, I remember this took about 4 months. This is about the 4th or 5th month. And I was actually at Grant Cardone's one of his growth cons, and I received the call from Bill that said, yeah, unfortunately his father actually had a bad accident, so it was in the hospital. And then at that time, that's when he actually made the decision, yes, I'm going to sell the property. And then that's when we got the call. And then we ran the numbers and we submitted the offer of 2.25 million with a 30-day due diligence period with 90-day closing. So those are two different windows. You've got your due diligence, and during this time is that your earnest money is refundable. So you can get it back unless you're having your contract not refundable, but that's not normally how it would be structured in that. So let's say you've got your 30-day due diligence period, something comes up, you back out, you get your earnest money back. However, if it's after that, you don't get your earnest money back. And then it was 90-day closing. So that's how that went on that side. And then how the due diligence worked. And this is what I would highly recommend for people to have is a due diligence checklist. So this was an element of the due diligence checklist. And if you want access to this, is go ahead and comment below access to due diligence checklist. Go ahead and give this to you for free and access that. So excuse me. Oh man, I need to drink some water or something. I got some water next to me, but it's all good. So you'll want to have a checklist. That way you aren't skipping certain items. And essentially during your due diligence phase, and this is one thing I've learned, is you're looking for reasons why not to buy the deal versus reasons to buy the deal. And let's go ahead and go to the due diligence side. So you're looking for reasons why not to buy the deal versus reasons to buy the deal, as I mentioned. And so, and this is why it's good to not fall in love with the property, because if you fall in love with the property, you'll be overlooking all the red flags. It's the same thing you would say in dating, is that if you fall in love with someone without really knowing them, you'll just go ahead and overlook all the red flags that they have. They'll say, well, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole, but so through the course of this is you're just confirming all of your assumptions. Is one, are the renovations in line with what you underwrote on the front end? Secondly, is your rent assumptions is what you would be able to push the rents up to. So you're confirming that as well. You're assessing is what is the crime at? So you're doing all these items and doing a deeper dive. You're getting all of the leases as well, just to ensure that there's nothing completely out of something that completely out of the ordinary. So meaning that the owner may have just got some signed leases. However, on the back of that they had two months free rent on the front end, or let's say the back end. So someone would sign a lease for 12 months and their last 2 months would be completely free. So let's say they signed a couple of those. You now purchase the property and you're wondering, okay, why are these residents and tenants not paying their last 2 months? Well, it says in their lease that they don't have to pay it. So these are all the things you're doing as you're going through all the leases, just ensuring that there's nothing just out of the ordinary. And you're receiving the T12, which is the past 12 profit and loss. Actually, you want to receive that beforehand, but now you're just receiving additional information. That way you could take more of a deeper dive, such as the utility bills, any insurance claims that have been done. During this time is you're going to do a property inspection. Then you're going to have your phase one if you have a lender that's coming in providing the financing. Just a phase one is just ensuring that there's no outstanding contaminants or anything on the property. And then also you're going to receive contracts, any service contracts. So if they happen to partner with someone to do the coin operated machines, is that you're going to inherit that contract. So you just want to receive all of this documentation so you're now aware of, okay, this is what we're now getting into. So there's that. And then you've got so I'll show you what it looks like when you're assessing crime. And this is one source that you can use, which is called spot crime. Another is just calling the local police department, and they'll be able to tell you. And sometimes they can go back as 5 as 10 years. But then you're just assessing has there been how often is there violent crime associated with the property? Excuse me. The petty crime is okay. But if there's like violent crimes, such as someone completely taking someone's life or something along those lines, that's actually more of a concern, especially if it's happened multiple times at that property, or if there's been quite a bit of illegal drug activity, people dealing drugs in the property. Is that may be a hub for, and that would be a problem that you would have to take on and have to address. So this is one source that you can use where you can actually see the different types of crimes. There's quite a bit of assault. Looks like theft here, a lot of theft, and this is in Houston, Texas. So this is just some of the neighborhoods around here. So you don't see a lot of just like people. Was it taking people's lives? So that's good on that. And this is where I'm at in Midtown. So yeah, let me go ahead and do a search here. Oh, it's already there. Search this area. Okay, refresh browser. And yeah, so just looking at Midtown, where I'm currently at, is that's good. It looks like there was a burglary here, but other than that, nothing too significant. So that's good there. And then other ways how you can conduct your research is using a site such as areavibes.com. And this is one is if you're looking to check the local household income. So meaning is if the current rents are, let's say, $700 and you want to push them up to $1,400. However, the average income in the area is $30,000 or $40,000, and it's, hey, is this realistic for me to be able to push up the rents and rates up to this? So that's one of the things you just have to ask yourself as you're doing the due diligence. There's that, and then so it comes down to having the next phase is, so you're doing during the due diligence, there's a lot of items to address. And that's what I mean is why it's key to have a team so you can be able to delegate to certain people, because you wouldn't want to make a mishap on something that could actually end up costing you the deal or end up significantly impacting your returns once you actually move forward with the purchase. And what I mean by this is there was a group that purchased the property. They overlooked the property being reassessed. So essentially, what I mean is that let's say the property is being currently assessed at $2 million, and that's what the taxes are valued on. The owner could have bought it years ago, so and that's why it's so low. And then you buy it at $5 million. Well, what's going to happen is the property is going to be reassessed at that $5 million mark. In that, property taxes are going to go up, and they overlooked that. And when they bought the deal, it actually affected them because they overlooked that and did not consider the property being reassessed. So it's just little things like that you want to have. And now the next here is going through, and this is on another property, is when you have the actual inspection. So there was the day of the inspections. Let me go ahead and switch this over. The physical inspection. So have the inspector come out, and then also was walking all the units and actually had the property management company there. And this was the first time I was blown away. They had a whole crew there, and it was multiple guys that were walking all of the units. So they had like a Google document that said, okay, this unit needs this unit needs this. So both my partner and I actually didn't even need to be there. So that was a blessing in itself. And that's why it's crucial to have a team. So I ended up walking all the units and assessing, okay, this is what it needs on a per unit basis. Also had the inspector out there, which also helps really confirm or solidify your budget, or however you want to say that, because they'll be coming up with items that you actually need to address sooner rather than later. So I'll show you a inspection report on the previous deal that I acquired, and this was a first deal being a 46 unit. Is you'll have, and that's just a table of contents that's just breaking down the lots and grounds, the exterior, the structure, the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC, so the heating and cooling system, the laundry room. On this, there wasn't cooling because there was just window units, but it did have heating, laundry room, stairwells, common areas, and then on a per unit basis. On this, we actually had the inspector inspect all the units. That actually wasn't needed. They actually just need to inspect a few because they're all just basically the same. So just fast forwarding through this is they'll have a part that where is it? Okay, here you see they'll have an area where they say, okay, these are the items that are defective. So items needs immediate repair or replacement. And then your lender also, you'll forward this over to them as well. And these are items that, hey, you've got to actually address these sooner rather than later. And then you've got some that are functional and require repair or servicing, but it's not as immediate. And then there's some that are just acceptable. So this is about 80 something pages for this particular inspection report. So very lengthy, but there's always a summary and a snapshot. And then you're also communicating with the inspector too. That's why I like to have the inspector on the same day as walking all the units, is that I'm actually asking them of, okay, what are red flags on this property? And getting those insights from them, and versus, okay, what's good on this property. So that's what I would say. They are a part of your team. So that is on the the due diligence side. And what was uncovered through the course of this due diligence is, one, it was a lot more repairs than we anticipated. The first being decks is, excuse me. Let me go ahead and drink some water real quick, you guys. Yeah, the first was decks. Oh man, that was tasty. The decks were a safety hazard. So that was one of the things that we just were not aware of, that we had, that ended up being costing more because that wasn't in our budget. And then also there were some issues with the subflooring. So somewhat some foundation issues that was also that we had to address. So then this was the next step, the negotiation. Because at this point in time, it really did not make the most sense, because it was about $300,000 worth of work that was not in the original assumptions. So with that is, you don't, and we had to go back and retrade, which is just another word for renegotiating, is that you don't want to be known to do this. You actually want to use it when you have to absolutely use it. So in this case, this is one of my favorite negotiation strategies, is the 3-option rule, versus, instead of the common way people would use in the negotiation, is they would just go to the owner and say, hey, I need a reduction of $200,000 off the purchase price. Is to get a little bit more sophisticated. One really good book that goes into this is The Art of Negotiation, something like that. There's one by Chris Voss, which talks about never split the difference. And then there's another one by Donald Trump, not getting into politics. It's just a good book that is The Art of Negotiation, or let me pull it up, Donald Trump Style Negotiation. There we go. So that's one of the books. Great, because it really goes into the different tactics that you can use. But in this particular case, gave them an A option, B option, and a C option. The A option was, hey, Bill, we'll move forward with the agreed upon terms of the purchase. However, you've got to take care of these renovations. B option was, hey, no, don't mind what needs to be done. It's completely fine. We'll take care of it. However, we need a reduction of the purchase price, which we were able to just receive a credit at closing. And then the C option was a mutual release, which is just a mutual release from the contract so we can walk away from the deal. And the option that they ended up picking was B option. So we ended up receiving a credit at the closing, which in a way is a reduction of the purchase price, but not a reduction of the purchase price. We're actually able to use that credit and push it towards renovations. But yeah, we received a credit at closing of $200,000. So that was that. And now let's go ahead and get into the next, which is the financing and deal structure. And I know I'm going into quite a bit here, because there was a lot of moving parts with this deal. And yeah, it's, as mentioned earlier, we're condensing a deal that took 10 months into, now we're about at the 39-minute mark. So that is a lot to condense. So if there's some things that you would like for me to go a little bit deeper on that I don't answer through this, go ahead and just raise your hand and I'll see you virtually. No, I actually wouldn't be able to see you, but just go ahead and comment below with that question. So All right, we went through the due diligence, and let's go ahead and talk about the financing. Or before we go into the financing side of things, I want to go into the actual business plan because that may be what you're wondering. So the business plan, and I'll just go ahead and just switch over to this here and go into this slide. That way you'll be able to see it. So how the business plan worked was this was the condition of the property prior to the purchase. So very distressed, and the occupancy was 57%, very mismanaged, and quite a bit of deferred maintenance. Is that the roofs were needed to be addressed, the decks, the parking lot, the windows, the HVAC units, so the doors. So it was quite a bit of improvements that needed to be done. And then the plan after, so the business plan was one, modernize the appliances and fixtures. So just more updating the property to now where it should be, actually where the market is. Sign new leases at the market rate, which were about $95 more, because on average it was about $500. So through that is, and there's a total of 16 one bedrooms, and then the remaining is, however the math comes out, the remaining were two bedrooms. And of those 16 those 16 one bedrooms, 8 were smaller and then 8 were larger. And then it's the same on the two bedrooms, is about half or smaller one bedrooms, and the other half were larger two bedrooms. So essentially the average across the board was about $600 for the uh, the units, renovate the down units, and then also implement more efficient management procedures. So that was the business plan, and the property would be fully stabilized more so in about a year and a half to 2 years. And you also have to consider why it takes a little bit longer to stabilize the property, because let's say you've got some residents there that have just signed a 1-year lease. You're not simply able to come in and say, hey, by the way, I just purchased the property. I'm looking to implement this business plan. You actually now have to get out so I could be able to renovate. That does not work that way. So you have to. It takes a little bit longer to stabilize the property. And this is another common mistake I see people make, is they have in their first year as if they have the property stabilized. Yes, if you can do that, awesome. However, you just have to consider is you have to protect your downside. Is if you buy the deal on the best case scenario, that could be a little bit, that could be very aggressive. However, if you underwrite and you buy the deal on a more and it still makes sense on a conservative model, and you still have your aggressive model, and your aggressive is not as much of a stretch, then that's when it's all, how I look at it is just protecting your downside, because who knows, a pandemic could happen, which is what we recently had experienced. So that is what that looked like. That's what it looks like on that side. And then how the current is, this is the before pictures where Vanessa did not like she was helping us with the reposition of this property, was removing firstly Bentwood Apartments and then renaming it to Dunwoody Court Apartments, which is what you saw in the image earlier, the Google Street View, and then just updating and making everything more modernized. And as you see here, this is what it looked like afterwards. And then here is the transformation. And I want to show you a little bit of, let me go ahead and see about, I'll have to stop sharing and reshare. So you'll be able to see screen 2, Google Chrome, share audio tab. Here we go. Perfect. All right, so I'll show you what this looks like. And this was a video I did on Bigger Pockets, just breaking down this particular property. But you'll be able to see a unit while it's going through renovations. On here, and you may see some guys in here. And you see we painted the doors. As you can see, there's the upgrade on the decks that we had to do because our lender required that. And it was one of the items in our inspection report that, hey, this is immediate. It's actually a safety hazard. Here too, I was losing my
We'll just
breath.
go ahead and head to the back right here.
I don't know. You should be able to hear this.
We'll go into one of these units back here.
So
Excuse us,
updating
guys.
the
We're just doing some
fixtures, you can
filming.
see there.
Yeah, so the first thing to be attended to is this retro carpet that you see
Yeah, so
on
ripped up the
the
carpet.
renovations and the upgrades that's going to be done to this unit. So in particular, in the bedrooms, those are going to be carpeted, and then the
And
cabinetry,
then there
and
you can
then
see the
replace the
kitchens.
countertops. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at the bathroom here quick.
And then this was something else that was also upgraded to the property, which was the laundry room, and ended up
So
signing a
here's the laundry
contract.
area that you see. And this is through a third party provider in which there is a contract that's signed with them. So there is a split of the revenues that is produced. It's just been my personal experience. Well, not personal experience, but what I've learned from others is instead of bringing our own laundry equipment in and having that as another thing to focus efforts on, such as if one happens to go out, then have to bring one of your maintenance guys off of a job to make those repairs. It's just best to outsource it. That way they take care of it. Normally what you'll get is they will give
And
you
then
a
added
commission
this
unexpected. So with this specific project, had a third party management company,
show what this is.
and 3
There we
months in, it did not work out.
And then
As
added
well.
the fitness room here.
So this is where the magic happens. This is the on-site fitness center that was added. Going to get some chest in right here. All right, now let's go ahead and finish.
I don't know why I was doing that. But yeah, that is the, let me see if I can stop sharing there. Yeah, so that was the after of some of the amenities that you saw, as well as the top of more modernizing the units and upgrading them to market. So that was the little bit on the business plan. And then next, let's go into the financing, which I'll go into this on a high level because can definitely take some rabbit holes when it comes to this. And we'll go ahead and share this screen again here. And so how the financing worked is here you can see the purchase price was $2.25 million, $28,000 per unit. This was a steal. And this is why I prefer to actually go direct to owner versus if this was listed on the market, minimally, it probably would have sold for about 33 to about 34,000 per unit. So save quite a bit there. Here is the improvement budget. So just over $1 million, which comes down to about 13,000 per unit. And then there was an offering to the investors of this amount for a portion of that was towards the down payment on the property. And then also a portion was portion was the down payment for the 30% that was needed to acquire, and then the lender provided the remaining of this 2.25 million, and then also a portion of that raise went towards the improvements. And then also did a co-investment. So investors do like to see some skin in the game. And then this was essentially the breakdown to the investors. So one, this is not a general solicitation on this deal. This is actually closed, and the deal has actually been sold. So there's that. So this was the split to the investors. 88% went to them, and then 12% went to both my partner and I. And then when we go and sell the property, they get 70%, and then we get the remaining 30%. But if you're asking, okay, well, how did you get to the 88%? How did you get to the 12%? This is a very common question. It all comes down to what you want to give to your investors as far as the end result. And let me go ahead and switch this because we are in the next section of the financing and deal structure. So yeah, it comes down to what you wish to give to your investors. Then you back into the equity split. So let's say you wanted to give your investors a 11% cash on cash. So that's on the cash flow more so. And then you want to double their money in, let's say, 3 years. However, when you do, let's say you give them 80% of the deal, you get 20%. It actually gives them 1.5, so they don't double their money, and then their cash on cash is 8%. And then in that case is you may have to give up more of the deal. Now it's 90% that you would want to give to them in that case to be able to get that return, that desired return. So it all comes down to you want to have what you wish to give to your investor. Now you can actually back into the price. And how this worked is, as mentioned, the 70% of the purchase price, which was the 2.25 million, actually came from a lender. And the lender, when it comes to the financing, they want to see that. Let's say, for example, on this deal, gosh, what was it? Let me go ahead and I'll pull it up real quick. The numbers on this. Okay, so I want to see exactly what the loan amount on this was. So the loan on this particular deal was 1.57 million, and that was 70% of the purchase price. So the lender wants to see that you or the people who are putting the deal together, in this case it was both my partner Jacob and I, meet the net worth greater than or equal to the loan amount, and then also that you have 10% liquidity in your bank accounts of that $1.575 million, which in that case, so if you don't have it yourself, then you find someone to basically be your co-signer onto the deal, which is also known as a key principal. So there's always ways around that. In this case, we didn't have any issues with that from previous deals that we worked on. We were able to use that on our net worth side of things. So that is the breakdown on this particular deal. And that was the business plan, as mentioned, one that on from start to finish on how everything was found. So the overview on the market, how the deal was found, went through the due diligence, went through the negotiation, went through the business plan, as well as the financing and the structure. And last, going to go ahead and go into the lessons that were learned on this deal, because there were a lot. But first, before I go into that, let me get into the renovations. I almost skipped this, and I want to ensure I get this. So these are the renovations on this property. So I'm not sure if you can entirely see this. Almost skip that. So these are the renovations and that breakdown. So you see the costs on the interior alone was about just under 6,500. And then, so all of these upgrades, these are the breakdown. I was going to go through each and every one of them, but that can be pretty mundane. So you see there's quite a bit that go to just to the interior alone. And then you've got the adding the fitness room. You got the furnace and AC units. You've got the electrical. That was something else. $36,000 that we did not anticipate and have in our original assumptions. And then you've got exterior facilities, such as replacing all the windows, the deck repair, and that we had to do, which you saw earlier in that video with as we were making those changes to the decks, and then the roof repairs. So the total project, as you see, this is how it breaks down. And then, however, the issue that we had experienced on this deal, and this was one of the lessons that was learned, was that the property management company that we were using, one, their speed wasn't there. They were very slow. Their quality wasn't there, and they were going over budget. So they literally did not hit anything. And that's just one of those things that you just have to be accepting of. Property management companies is majority of the time they're not going to manage the property as you would manage the property. So we ended up after a while having to bring it in house. So that was one thing, had to pivot quickly. The next lesson that was learned was the follow-up, crucial. And one, as I mentioned earlier, I see too many people give up too soon. First, they don't make the outreach. Excuse me. I need to drink some more water. First, they don't make the outreach. And then second is they give up too soon. On this particular deal, it took 7 attempts just to get in contact with them. And then it took multiple follow-ups to continually nurture that relationship. So it didn't happen overnight. And the next lesson was to have faith. Well, this is the third lesson, is to have faith, is that as I was, And this was me myself running point the whole time and expanding from Indianapolis to Louisville. Was I just had to have faith that what I was doing consistently day in and day out, that I would get to that end result. And it can be tough. And I understand there's some people that may be getting or working on their first deal, or let's say they're transitioning from single family to smaller multifamily. Is that yes, it can that you're planting the seeds now. You may not see that. Oh man, this sucks. I haven't really been getting the results, and let's say it's after a month or 2 months. But I can tell you, as long as you keep planting those seeds, is exactly what I was doing. Every single day, I would lock myself in a room and I would just prospect the whole day in the multiple days. And then I would still make trips from Indianapolis to Louisville to continue nurturing those relationships with owners who may not be interested selling right then and there, but in the future. So I just kept planting those seeds and having faith that, yes, if I keep putting in the work, I know something I will end up making magic happen. So that's when I can test to everyone, is just having faith that by you consistently planting the seeds, that's the key, is consistently planting the seeds, that you will get to where you wish to go. And then thirdly is patience, is that it takes time. Many see that on this, that one, the amount of times I had to follow up, and that it took until the 5th month for them to finally say that, hey, yes, I am ready to move forward with selling the property. I've got some owners that I'm following up to this day. It's going on 3.5 years now. So it just takes time and patience, because this is a long-term play. That it's not, when I look at real estate, it's not a get rich quick. It's more of a get wealthy slow. So if you're in there taking the time and just understand that things don't happen overnight, but then once you do have that deal, is to now you want to move with speed, but just understand these things take time. And I know that we're in the social media age, so everyone's like, oh, okay, well, they just see everyone's highlights, but they don't see, one, who knows the highlight is actually, it is what it is, because you got some people who warp their photos and all this, and that's a whole nother dynamic. But is, let's say the highlight is actually real, and someone posts that they just closed on XYZ deal. They usually don't post, they post a bit about the story, but they don't really, you don't see the documentation of everything that led up until that. So, and that could be multiple years, a lot of sacrifices that they had to make, all those different things to lead up to that just one highlight that you see. You say, oh, wow, man, it took him 5 months to close that deal. But no, it took years of hard work, full time being in the industry, and him living in, let's say, a friend's den and not being able to see his family for years, or whatever the case is. All those sacrifices, him waking up every day at 5 a.m. to make the calls, and then boom, then he got that deal that you saw, that took that 5 months. So one, I appreciate everyone so much who are on these. I do trust that you are able to get value from this. For those of you who just want more insights on how to bridge the gap from where you currently are to where you wish to go, there will be a link to a strategy session just below. That way you can set up a call with myself or either someone on my team to really help you get from A to Z and provide you a roadmap to get there. In the meantime, keep being awesome. Enjoy your upcoming weekend. Don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here to help you along your journey. One, I'm not perfect by any means. I still make mistakes to this day, and I'm constantly working towards becoming the strongest version of self. And that prime example is that when it came to the social media side, is I just found that was being quite the distraction for myself. And when things don't start adding up for myself personally, I start subtracting. That way I can focus more, because I'm more of a philosophy of less is more, and focus is everything. So I've gotten to boxing as a way to improve, constantly reading, all these things as a way just to be a better human being. Because yes, business is awesome, but if you have everything around you that's just shambling, then it really doesn't matter. Because I believe it's why are we here on this planet? Why are we here on actual Earth? And I'm a firm believer it's to help others. But if you're not able to help yourself, then how can you help others? And this goes back to when you're on the plane. is one of the first things they say is that before you help anyone, you've got to put the first thing before helping the person next to you, if you decide to, is you've got to put your oxygen mask on first. Then you can start to help them. That's just a prime example of helping yourself first, building yourself up, and then being able to have the ability to help others. So that's just my way and philosophy. Not saying that is the right way, but these are all the things I'm just learning as I evolve as a human being. So I appreciate you all so much. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend. All right.